Hello, welcome to episode number 1 of the Testosterone Tales with myself, Ryan Mackins, and my good friend, James Underwood. So I met James about 4 or 5 years ago, and we obviously had a similar interest in terms of the gym, but also what we realized was we had a bit of a similar backstory. We had similar personality traits where we had done certain things, growing up and whatnot. Anyway, it's taken us 4 years apparently to get to this point, but we felt like a lot of our experiences were quite relatable for a lot of people. So we decided to get a podcast up going, try and share some of our experiences, and hopefully, this is going to be something that's useful for people, because some of you might find yourself in the same situation and can, see how people have failed in life, but then found their way and then ended up turning a negative into a positive. So here we are. And on that note, I'm going to give James the opportunity to talk about your backstory and one of the reasons why we got here in the first place.
Okay, so for context, for a lot of you guys, it's understanding, why we have got into the position we're in now. I've been thinking about this for the last couple of weeks as to what I actually want to get out of this. And I think for both of us as coaches, a lot of this comes down to having the right guidance. Now, when I go back, I'm gonna rewind it right back to my childhood. So I didn't really have that much guidance from the start. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and that's the whole point of this, is that in the beginning, I had no idea. So my parents split up when I was 7 years old. I didn't really have any male role models in my life. I look back, it all kind of makes sense why I now fit into the role that I fit in, and why I also find that doing what I do gives me a lot of satisfaction. And I can recognize that in other coaches like Ryan and myself, and I see it in so many of you. The school I went to was a really, really good school. It's actually called Worksop College. Any of you guys know that? And I had all the opportunities, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I was very, very confused. So it always felt like all my friends, they knew what they needed to do in life. Some of them were going to join the armed forces. Some of them were going to, become accountants or lawyers. And a lot of them had their parents backing them and pushing them. Now, again, this isn't anything against my parents, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And there was always the pressure of thinking, what do I need to do to please other people? What do I need to do to make them proud of me? And I never really knew that answer. So I went through school. I was really good at a lot of the kind of design stuff. So I ended up actually going to university in London. I went there, and that was my first experience of leaving home, moving to another city. I was 18, moving to London, not knowing anyone. Having no guidance, and all of a sudden you're in this really expensive place. Everything's a mad rush. Everyone seems like they know what they're doing. And I was seeing a girl there at the time. Things didn't work out. She broke my heart. And actually with another guy who was well into his training, he was fucking jacked. And I think that was probably my first experience of okay, I didn't like that. So
You want to out-jack him?
I want to out-jack. Well, yeah, I mean, I think every bloke at some point feels that when they walk into a room and they either feel threatened by someone who either has more money and is in better shape or whatever, you think they're better off in life. And that was my first taste of that in life, basically. So, long story short, packed that in, started again, had a year out, then went to Nottingham Trent University. And then as I was there, really got into my training. Obviously at this point, there was all the American football, there was all the rugby teams, really got into all that. The nature of it was very, very competitive. Now I felt like I had a little bit of an edge because I was a little bit older than some of these guys, and I'd already started training and they hadn't. So fast forward there, ended up working for a company called GNC, which is a bit like Holland & Barrett.
I remember it.
And I actually finished my degree there, and then ended up working at GNC full-time. They made me a manager. And so I moved to Manchester, and then when I worked there, I then started training a lot of guys that were coming into the store, shouldn't have been, but a lot of people coming up to me asking me will you train me if I pay a little bit of cash? If you come to the gym, can you help me out? Can you help me with these diets? So did all that, and then ended up jumping ship and rolling dice, working at a gym in Whitefield, which at the time was called Lifestyle Fitness, and started personal training there. That's kind of really where the journey started for me. And that
do you feel like that you were someone who was genetically quite fortunate to be in good shape without too much effort? Would you say that's a thing for you?
I felt like I was a fast responder.
You were, yeah.
So I felt like I was quite a quick responder. In some ways, I think...
Even in your early 20s, you know, when you started training, you noticed changes quick.
I'd say so. And not just that, but like the interest was already there. Yeah. So I was like, because I think I'd had those like early heartbreak decisions and that influence of not really having a real male role model. So I was chasing, I wanted to be the biggest guy. I thought that was the answer. I thought this is the solution. It was probably all just a bit of a like, maybe, and I think a lot of guys like, you know, an insecurity thing, but I felt that if I had that, then that makes me a man. I definitely felt like I was a fast responder, got into training. Obviously, like I picked up with a PT really, really quickly because of that reason. I had no money at the time. I was living in a house share. And when I started, I actually took out, I remember this moment, I actually left GNC and my credit was really poor. And I went to NatWest at the time. And all they would give me was £5,000. So I took out a personal loan for £5,000 and I knew that was my buffer. I was going into personal training with no clients. No money, no savings.
Make or break.
Make or break. So your back's against the wall. I didn't really think about the consequences. It was just, I need to do this. If I don't do this, what else am I going to do?
Something pretty good about that though. It creates urgency, you know?
And this like goes back to kind of, this was like my first experience of when I perform best. Some people respond better when their back is literally against the wall. Mm-hmm. Whether they like it or not, I didn't like it, but in all the instances in my life where I put myself in a position where if you don't do this, you're fucked. That's where I seem to actually excel and do better than I thought, way better than I thought I could achieve, like if I just applied myself. So then what I started realizing is, well, maybe I need to actually start putting myself in positions that are like that. Now that they were very like, if you're risk averse, then this isn't going to work. If you know, obviously, if you're going into business, if you're going to leave employment and become self-employed, you need to not be risk averse. You have to be able to take chances, roll the dice, and you have to believe in yourself. I knew I was in shape, so I could get clients, and I was a good people person, so I could make money, and it would fund my training. But beyond that, there wasn't really a purpose in life. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I never really managed to, and that need to go further was never really there. I would never really break out that prison of, right, well, you need to excel in life. It needs to be something more. I was rolling the dice all the time, and I was getting that feedback. My clients were paying me, great, oh, you're great. And then at the weekends, my social circle, which was the wrong social circle, were all, oh, do you want to come out? Big man, you want to do this, you want to do that? And it was feeding my dopamine of, it's giving me validation, but it wasn't a validation I needed, and it was very, very surface level. It was just on the way you look and who you're around and the partying, and that was it. There was no, go on.
What's quite crazy about that is the juxtaposition of like being someone that people want to come to be in shape and be more healthy, yeah. And then actually what was going on behind closed doors.
It was like the life I lived was like two far extremes, and like yeah. It's so funny because I'd be on nights out and all the people would be asking, oh my God, how are you doing it? And all the rest of it, I'm going to start with you on Monday. Monday would never come, you'd never see them. Yeah. And then in the week, like it was a double life I was living, but I was sustaining it. And it was crazy that I was sustaining it. But I think I was just sustaining it because I was able to just ride on the dopamine. Mm. But that only runs for so long until you literally start fucking yourself up. Yeah. And this takes me to like probably about 2018, 2019, 2020. Obviously then lockdown hit. And we're getting to the point where I probably reached like, and again, going back to the beginning, this is not a, ooh, feel sorry for me story. This is just for context so you guys understand that I genuinely reached rock bottom in my life. I'd sustained some really bad injuries at this point. And then I started to get health issues, which inevitably, up to that point, I was shocked I didn't get. Now, without getting into the details of how much I was doing, I was that guy that would go out on like bank holiday and not come back for 3 or 4 days later. I wouldn't stop until the phones wouldn't stop. You know, if someone was picking up the phone, I'd still be ringing it. I'd be the first one out and the last one to call it a day, and then I'd still go to work. And I was running on drugs. Drugs to make me go, drugs to make me sleep, drugs to make me not anxious, drugs to make me perform in the gym. And I got myself in a real mess. Not only did I reach rock bottom, I fucked myself physically so bad I actually ended up in hospital multiple times with certain things that were happening that I didn't know were happening on such a deep level. So my liver was in a really bad state. And to this day right now, I have a condition. I've got multiple tumors on my liver, and it's called focal nodular hyperplasia. So you guys who know anything, or if you want to chat GPT that, there are multiple non-cancerous tumours that are all over my liver. I had acute pancreatitis. I had multiple times after extended nights out. I was always, I was a mess. To the point where I got so ill in 2022, and I remember you coming to my house. I was being screened for liver cancer. I was losing weight rapidly. My skin went yellow. I couldn't train at this point. I thought I was done. I had this bravado, this image that protected my insecurities or whatnot, because I was this big guy, I've got his shit together, whatever. And now all that was stripped away, because you can only go so far until your body says no. And I know there'll be a lot of people who are watching this now who have either been through that scary point or have known someone who's had that point where you're waiting for test results to come back, you know you are very ill, and you do not know what's happening next. I was this guy who didn't have much guidance, was very lost, got myself in a huge mess, and I reached absolute rock bottom. Genuinely, the worst time of my life. And that's exactly what needed to happen for me to figure it all out. Genuinely. So I'm glad all that happened. If you've been following me for the past 12 months, whatever, you'll see that I'm in a relationship with this wonderful person. I've got a son now. My business is, doing really well. I've got a great friendship circle. I had to reach rock bottom, and I had to experience all these things at such a fucking deep level, because everything I do has always been to extreme, as Ryan knows. I remember you coming to my house, and I remember sitting you down and being like, I was having this chat with people being like, I don't know if I'm going to be around in the next 12, 18 months. I remember having that chat with you, and I remember you looking back at me and kind of, when someone knows that this isn't good.
It was hard. I remember that day specifically. I came over and I really did think, knowing how you are now to then, I can't quite believe it.
Yeah.
The change has been so drastic.
Yeah.
And I did think that was it for you. I thought you were probably going to go to High Rocks or I'm joking. No, I thought that you were going to need a new path. And I didn't know what your path was going to be. And to be honest with you, I didn't even know if you were going to be healthy again.
Yeah.
You didn't know, I didn't know. It was oh my God. Yeah. Knowing what you were like, this is going to sound really backwards, but I'm glad it happened as well. Yeah, you needed a wake-up call, and that was your wake-up call. Massively. And then from that, your life got exponentially better.
Massively. Which, the last bit now, because waffling, and we'll touch on loads of these points, but I think what truthfully makes you, and how I got into coaching, right? Because technically, I did it the first time, and actually failed, because everything I was preaching to my clients, I wasn't doing myself. I was living a double life. And a lot of it was drug induced. It was drug fueled. So although I looked the part for a short period of time, that was very short lived. What allows me now to coach people, and I think why I coach people, and I'm successful with it, and I've had success with it, and I think I'm able to win a lot of people over, is because there's a lot of life experiences. You find out who you are when you're absolutely fucking done. But having conversations with people and understanding about relationships, understanding about drug use, understanding about finances, because almost every single person that comes to me has either a health problem, a finance problem, a physique problem, an image problem, an insecurity problem. And now all of a sudden I feel like I've had absolutely terrible experiences in all of those fields. Yeah. So now, that doesn't make me an expert. Just because you've had a fucking major health problem doesn't make you a fucking medical professional. But what it does is it makes you empathetic. It makes you understanding. And if you've got knowledge of coaching and you can understand where your clients have been, then you can give good advice. And not only that, you're a voice of reason. You're a voice of someone going, you know what, I've been there and I actually know what that feels like.
That's really powerful stuff. I think a lot of times people sometimes, not a shoulder to cry on, but sometimes people they just need that reassuring hand on their shoulders if to say, I understand how you feel.
Totally.
I've been there.
Totally.
And I've overcome. Totally. And it gives them hope. Totally. And there's something in that. As you say, you're not an expert, but you've been there. And it really, really helps.
100%.
Invaluable.
The drug use isn't healthy. But what you can do is you can have conversations with people and go, right, well, I've been there and that didn't work out for me. You need to use less. Or it needs to be this. Or if you carry on doing that, mate, this is what's going to happen to you, and this was me here. Now, that client is not going to listen to a doctor. They're not going to listen to a medical professional. They're going to listen to you because you've been there and you're fucking jacked, and you've lived the story, and you've come out the other side. So they're more like you have a responsibility to help them and guide them out of the mess they're in and find balance between the two. And I feel like I have to pay this forward. I feel like this is my purpose now. And for my entire life, I was searching for what is my purpose? Why am I here? And I had to go through all those fuck-ups to find my purpose. And here we are.
It's powerful stuff, though, if you think about it. Like, it puts you in a very unique position over a medical professional or someone. Because very often, there'll probably be people watching this who are being told something by someone, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a friend, but they don't share that same vision. Whereas you've literally been there, you felt it, you've got the t-shirt, right? So it's going to have so much more weight.
It's like your parents teaching you how to drive.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how right they are, you're not listening to them.
That you need to be inspiring to that person. Because do you know what? I've had a coach before and I really admired him. And because I admired him so much, I wouldn't say I wanted to impress him. I wasn't like, tugging on his shirt like, oh, come on, like me. But it was like, it really made me want to try more because I respected him so much, And if someone respects you, your journey, your strength level, your physique, your mindset, they're going to listen more, they're more inclined to. So 100%. No, it's powerful stuff, mate. So on to me.
Your go.
Yes. So this is a bit of just a thing that me and James just spoke about, because having had conversation for the last 4 or 5 years, we talk a lot, and we wanted to make this podcast really more interactive, more watchable. And one of our problems is by talking too much, it makes it a little bit less watchable. So I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet, but also there does need to be context. And the reason why we started doing this, so I'm going to take it back again, but as I say, I'll try and be quick. So take it right the way back to when I was in school. When I was in school, I was, there's no other way of putting it, I was a bit of an attention seeker. I always wanted to be centre of attention in the classroom. I wanted to be the joker. I was pretty naughty in school. I never really listened. And this is going to come to play as an adult as well. It started from a young age. I really knew that I don't think that anything was necessarily wrong. I was just a bit of a attention seeker. Throughout school, I was never obedient. I was never good. I got in trouble quite a lot. That carried on into after school. So then I got a lot of people, they talk about why they started the gym. I started the gym not for an insecurity. I mean, you could call it that.
Yeah.
But to me, it was, again, excuse the nature of how I talk. Sometimes I'm going to come across a certain way, but it's reality. I wanted to attract girls. That's it. I just wanted to get bigger. I wanted to have a six-pack. I wanted to have good arms. I wanted girls to find me attractive. So I guess you could call that an insecurity. Maybe there is. I don't know.
I think most lads watching this are kind of lying through their teeth if they say that there's not a massive factor in it. No one's going to go, I wanted to get jacked because I want to be healthy.
Yeah. No.
It's a testosterone thing. A young, hot-blooded male wants to be an alpha.
That's exactly it.
And training is a good outlet for that.
But I tell you what, though, even when I used to go to youth clubs, it's not like I'm going to sound arrogant, but it's not like I struggled to get girls even when I was younger.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that I wasn't getting girls. I think I just wanted even more. I wanted to broaden my reach, right? So anyway, me and a few lads, we all started training 17. And I just never really took anything seriously. The only thing I took seriously was the gym.
It was the training, yeah.
And then that led to me going out more. So the gym, going out, I didn't really have any solid job. Nothing. So my upbringing was a little bit different to yours in that sense, because you got an education and you were trying to work, trying to succeed. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I was failing. I was failing from 17 all the way to 27.
One consistency.
One. But it's weird, mate, because from I would say around about 20 to 21 years old to 27, I didn't get any better, physique-wise. I was about the same, because you know how it goes. Yeah. So Monday to Friday, pretty good.
Yeah.
Making sure I ate some protein and training really hard. I always trained hard. But then the weekend, fall off, and then start again Monday. Train, fall off. And then it started getting into the weeks. And this is the really poignant part. This is one of the main reasons why this podcast is in existence, is because, so I took it to a huge extreme, which I'm going to show you something I don't know if I'll show it necessarily, but I'm going to say what happened to me. So, a lot of recreational drugs, cocaine, couldn't get out of the cycle. I wasn't really amassing to, that's it. I wasn't really amassing to anything. I had nothing really in my life. My parents, I fell out with relationships. I was cheating on girls. I was doing whatever. I was living a really, really poor lifestyle, and I was stuck. And I didn't really know my direction. I didn't have any. there was one thing I was quite good at. I was really quite good at the gym. I was quite strong, and I was really inquisitive about understanding bodybuilding and powerlifting and how to train and what to do. Anyway, partying, so many penny drop moments, lying there, 10 in the morning thinking, I've done it again. Yeah. I've done it again. Yeah. We've been there, right?
How many times have you done that?
Thinking to myself, right, I'm going to stop now. I got to about 27 years old, right, I'm going to stop now. But it didn't, and I carried on going and going and going. It was going into the point where it was about...
So let's just touch on a point there. That was 27.
I was 27 years old.
Yeah, so I had guilt that I was entering my 30s and I'd not got my shit together yet. And I felt that every single person around me in my like circle were all younger than me and had their shit together and they knew what they're doing. So that drove my guilt even further.
Do you know what? That's a really good point as well. All of my friends were succeeding.
Yeah.
I didn't even have a car.
Yeah.
I didn't have a car. I lived at home. I had no money. But when I went out, I was someone, or so I thought.
Yeah.
Or so I thought.
100%.
People assumed I had my shit together. I had nothing together. I had a few of my close friends pull me to one side to tell me, what's the deal? What are you doing? You know, I've been there. It was pretty embarrassing, to be honest with you. And that guilt and embarrassment was a good thing.
Yeah.
In the long run, it was a good thing, even though I felt horrible at the time. And the reason why I say about taking things to the extreme, 2 or 3 or 4 times a week, it got to the point where I actually have a hole in my septum, where too many recreational drugs. I basically had a nosebleed for about 5 years straight. Like, I'd constantly bunged up and I'd pick up.
Didn't you have an operation on it?
Yeah, but that's actually for something different.
Right.
Yeah, I had an operation on my nose, but that's for a deviated septum, which actually wasn't to do with the drugs. I have a hole in my septum now. There's literally a hole in my septum, and it was through years of abuse.
And the thing is, you hear about this when you're growing up, but you rarely actually see someone in person, especially someone who looked like you.
Yeah, do you know what? I kind of got away with. I got away with it because I still look quite fresh, and I don't know how I look. Like, I'm talking like 10 years ago. I didn't look like I was doing that.
Yeah.
And I heard about. Do you remember Daniela Westbrook?
Yeah.
From EastEnders.
Yeah.
People might remember.
Yeah,
she lost the middle part of her nose and being horrified by that, and then it started to happen to me. Mm-hmm. Wake up call. Mm-hmm. Anyway, finally enough these moments happened, and I finally switched on. I realised I'm good at one thing. And I actually had a conversation with a guy. I don't remember his name. It's annoying because I'd love to mention him. There was a guy in the gym in Southampton where I'm from, and he said, "You've got a good physique, even though you don't try that hard. Like, you're going out on the weekends, but you've got a good physique. Have you ever thought about competing? You should probably try compete."
How old were you?
That was 2014, around December. So I was 26.
Okay.
26 or so, yeah. 27 maybe. Yeah, so a bit of a light bulb moment. And I thought to myself, right, so I started to, progress that a little bit more. And off the back of that, I started competing. It started going well. And I realized that this is the thing that I need to be doing.
Yeah.
This is the one thing that I'm actually not bad at, right? So then I started coaching, started earning more money. Everyone around me told me not to bother. It's not going to work. What are you doing? And, 10 years down the line, because I'm now 38, I'm still here. And, having experienced all of that negative, which was all self-inflicted, by the way, all self-inflicted, I was able to turn things around, even at 27. You were 30, but, it took me to 27 to finally realize enough's enough. And yeah, I'm now in the position where I've been coaching for 10 years and things have never been better. My life's got exponentially better ever since I sorted it out. So,
topic number 1, and this is the thing that is just all over the industry, all over the papers, all over the news at the moment. We're going to talk about GLP-1s. So for those that you don't know what GLP-1s are, and most of you will know, Ozempic, semaglutide, Mounjaro, retatrutide. Very, very interesting topic. So I'm going to take Ryan straight into the midst there because I want to know what your opinions are on this. Well, I know what your opinions are.
Yeah. No, I want to get it clear that I do see value in it, but it's just, do you know what? I think I've got, my personality trait is I push back on stuff that's popular. I think I've learned this about myself. Whenever something gets so much attention, I sort of I kick back. I think it's like a natural thing within my personality.
Yeah, because that's a trend in the industry. This stuff like this pops up and it happens.
It happens all the time.
Happens
all the time. And I'll be honest with you, I think it's annoying to me because I feel like people lack so much restraint.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is trying to inject something or take something that's going to rectify the fact that they just have no self-restraint.
I understand that.
But tell me otherwise.
Okay, so in the beginning, generally speaking, within the fitness industry, not within the world as a whole, but generally speaking, these drugs have come in and obviously made a huge difference to a lot of people. Initially for people with diabetes, right? So type 2 diabetes, helping reverse pre-diabetes. People who are massively overweight, people who are having gastric bands can now potentially not have them. So in a medical situation, an amazing drug. However, like anything, like everything, and like I feel like I can talk about this because I come from a background of use and abuse to the extremes. Everything I've done has always been to an extreme. And the issues are when you take these tools and take them to an extreme. So I don't think any of these drugs inherently are good or bad. I just think it's how you use them and the situations and scenarios of when you use them. I don't think any of these drugs are inherently good or bad. I think it's how you use them and the settings and situations when you use them. So I think initially, Ozempic, semaglutide, Mounjaro were generally rejected by the fitness community as a whole. A lot of the coaches rejected them. I think the main reason initially, and this is me being totally honest, and Ryan might disagree with this one a little bit, is that a lot of coaches probably felt threatened by these drugs because all of a sudden you've got clients who can't adhere to their diet. They can now inject a substance and adhere to the diet completely and fully, to the point where actually if they're hiring a coach and their primary reason for hiring that coach is to lose weight or lose fat, then potentially if this drug is cheaper, then they have a better solution which involves less effort, less willpower, and they just can get on with their day. Now, that's the surface level of that side. However, from a coaching perspective, it's just not true at all, because ultimately you can't stay on this drug forever. There has to be a coaching of the mindset, there has to be a coaching of the mentality, and equally, if you use and abuse these drugs, you can lose a lot of muscle tissue. So a lot of the weight lost is muscle. We know that. On the whole, anyway. Now, where we're at the moment, I think there's some merit to some of them. Some of my clients are using retatrutide at the moment, and I think retatrutide being the better option out of all the other GLP-1s. I think if you've got a client who's consistently unable to adhere to their diet week in, week out, and they have such a poor relationship with food where they are just binging and it just derails them. So they have one thing that's off plan on a Friday or a Saturday night and that just turns into a total binge. So they've, say we're in a deficit of 200 calories on a Monday, 200 calories on a Tuesday, 200 calories on a Wednesday, 200 calories on a Thursday, 200 calories on a Friday, and then they have a free meal on a Saturday night and it's 3,000 calories. They've just eradicated an entire 5 days of hard work in one cheat meal. And then they check in with you next week and go, I've gained a pound, I don't understand.
Do you not think that there's been an effect towards your client base? I do believe that it's less busy currently because of it. I think it's partly ChatGPT and it's partly GLP-1.
I agree.
It's definitely changed things.
It has changed things, but the only way out here is, as a coach, you have to acknowledge the drugs, you have to acknowledge the industry is ever changing, and you have to acknowledge that you've got one or two options. You can either reject it altogether and potentially lose out and fight against it and say, no, that's not me, I believe in this. Or you can understand that as science moves on, as sports science moves on, as drugs moves on, you can do one or two things. You can either educate yourself on the drug, educate yourself on the mindset of the people, and potentially utilize it a little bit for the people who need it at the beginning, and then help them not need it by coaching them. I think that it's down to you as a coach to own the process if you're quieter and educate yourself on the drugs. Ultimately, if your clients are going to use them, help them use it in the safest way possible, if that's a thing, and to understand that it's only a tool to be used at certain points and potentially not to be used as a crutch. The people who are using it and not being coached will find that whenever they withdraw the drug, they'll just go back to the same old problems they had before, except they're now older. And as that cycle repeats itself, they get less and less motivated. So the chances of them repeating the cycle over and over and over again is going to get worse every single time.
It's a learned behavior, and they always think that they've got that to fall back on, right? So they think to themselves, I can do whatever I want because I've got that. I think it's putting a band-aid over a bigger issue. Yeah. I think actually the issue is psychological.
Totally agree.
People, again, one of the reasons why we had this subject is people call it hormonal. People call it, I've got problems, whether it's...
So the big one, and this will make a lot of, especially my girls, it's going to make a lot of them go, oh, but James, you said this.
PCOS,
endometriosis, thyroid, underactive thyroid, whatever. absolutely, I do not argue those conditions at all. And I do not argue those conditions make the process harder. They absolutely do make the process harder. However, ultimately, if you're using a GLP-1 and all of a sudden now you're making progress, it's not because the drug is making your condition better. It's simply that you're able to adhere a calorie deficit for longer.
This is it. That's what I mean.
So it literally is the James Smith. You're in a calorie deficit. You thought you were, but you're not.
This is the thing. People call it the fat loss jabs. Hey, Ryan, do you know about the fat loss jabs? It's not the fat loss jabs.
It's not, no.
It's the ability for you to now adhere to a diet.
Correct.
So now you can eat less food. And when you're eating less food, do you know what? And one of the things I wanted to talk about was so many people for years and years and years were championing the fact that love your body, love your curves. I love being bigger. I love being this.
The body positivity movement.
The movement of body positivity. But
where's that gone?
All of those same people are now taking this. Because when they realised there was a magic wand, aka restitution or whatever, they can wave that magic wand and now they can lose weight. And all of a sudden, now it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
To be honest, what's annoying as well?
It was something like at the Emmys or the Oscars, all the actors and actresses that were like, championing the whole body positivity movement.
Lizzo?
That's right.
Yeah.
And then like 2 or 3 years later, the same Emmys and Oscars, all of a sudden they were all way skinnier.
It's almost as if they were. It's almost as if they were bullshitting when they were saying they were happy when they were fat. It's almost as if, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I get it. It's a coping mechanism, and I do believe you should be happy with the physique, your body. I don't believe that anyone should be unhappy with themselves.
No.
So cool, good for you.
And if you are unhappy with yourself, it is your responsibility to address that.
Yeah, but even if you, again, as I say, it's a coping mechanism. Saying, "Oh, I love my body" and all that. I get it. I do understand, but. Like, let's not fool ourselves. The moment an opportunity came for you to lose, you took it. You took it, and there's a reason why you took it.
So it overrides. It just negates the argument.
It invalidates what you were saying before, which is it's kind of the problem. But I don't think that it's a bad thing, and I do think that there's a potential upturn in terms of like the NHS. So there's not going to be as much strain on the NHS because less people are going to be obese. People are going to be losing weight. Great.
Short-term solution to a long-term problem.
Mate. It's not getting to the root of the problem. The root of the problem is that you have a bad relationship with food. That's the root of the problem. And you think by taking this, you've now cured yourself. You haven't. That being said, there is some value to it. I personally will never be someone who champions it. I won't, and it's not because I'm some dinosaur who's just like. But I really believe in the method of like getting this right.
Which ultimately, I totally agree with you on, because ultimately, at some point, you have to withdraw the drug. And when you withdraw the drug, if you haven't coached your mind,
You're in a world of shit.
You will go back to where you were, but worse.
And not only that, we don't know the long-term effects.
No.
It's not yet known.
And let's just be real here. This is coming from two guys, because the counter-argument to this is a lot of you guys that will go, well, you're bashing GLP-1s, but you're injecting anabolic steroids. Like, I totally agree with what you're saying. Like, but again, it's the same topic of it's understanding the concepts behind it. I have absolutely no doubts whatsoever that we could withdraw almost all the anabolic steroid use from our programs. And there's probably several points in your year where you are significant. You're pretty much, in fact, right now, you are on TRT, pretty much.
Sport TRT.
Sport TRT, yeah? But like...
Because I'm still a pro athlete,
But if you watch the stuff that Ryan's doing in the gym, there are guys that are literally pouring the kitchen sink into their bodies, like the entire pharmacy, and are not even close to what he does. And it's understanding that these are all simply tools used at the right points in a smart, educated, like progressive manner.
Do you remember that question you asked me when I came over? Do you remember the question about a month ago? You said to me, when clients say, what's the problem with me using this when you use steroids to help you?
Correct.
I'm using a drug to help me, you're using a drug to help me. Why is your one better than my one? Do you remember my answer?
Absolutely, yeah.
So my answer was, you're correct. Both of them are drugs in order to enhance results. Yeah. Both are. But one of them, and now this is just a personal thing. I like to still struggle because steroids doesn't make things easier for me. It enables me to train harder.
It rewards effort.
There you go. So now I'm getting a larger reward, but I'm also able to recover better, lift harder.
Yeah.
I can do things more.
Yes.
So I'm still experiencing all of the same stuff that someone who's not using steroids.
Yeah. But
I'm able to do it at a super physiological level.
Yeah. And again, we're not promoting anabolic steroid use here. We're not saying do this.
Aren't we? No, we're not. No, we're not. But I think, do you know what? The same as anything, same as any drug, it's all in moderation. Now,
And it has to be because we've just discussed where we both started.
That's the thing.
And essentially, we both started in a position where we lived a life that was fucked. Like I ruined myself. I started where I am now. My potential is completely capped because of the damage that I've done to my body. Every time I push food up now, it's a struggle for me. I know that I know my potential was here, and I've cut my potential short by all the damage that I've done. But it's knowing that I'm still going to try anyway. But I can't change that. I can't rewind the clock. So the only thing I can do now is I can help other people, guide them, and make better decisions. And that's how I move forwards. That's how I pay it forwards. And it'd be the same for you too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because how many guys do we coach where we're like, you literally just remind me of myself about 10 years ago?
I've had so many over the years, and if you're watching as well, there's so many over the years where they can relate to it. They're in a bit of a rut.
I've got lads right now that are like me 10 years ago, and I'm like, I feel like I have to look after this lad.
I say, yeah, because
well,
you know what it's like. You're in your friendship circle. The only people you talk to are going out on the weekends, and you kind of feel stuck.
Correct.
And then one of the problems with that, if you're now someone who also likes the gym, is then you then replace all of that with just overuse of steroids.
Yeah.
And so many guys are starting using steroids with no business using steroids. They barely look like they train. They barely look like they train, but they're still like pumping in steroids like no one's business.
Correct.
And again, it's
overuse. What's driving that? What do you think's driving that?
Lack of knowledge, impatience, social media impatience.
Yeah.
On social media, it looks like everyone's in shape and everyone's this, that, and the other. They're taking this drug, that drug, but actually, in reality, that's not a fair representation. Because social media, we create our own little, I want to call it like an echo chamber. The people you follow, it ends up feeling like that's the world.
Correct.
That's very much not the world.
Correct.
That is the small, minute percentage of a very much bigger picture.
Correct.
And you get fed what you get fed from the influencers and people that you follow, that you end up thinking that that's just the norm. Taking 750 to 1,000 milligrams of testosterone is normal. It's not normal.
Yeah.
You know, someone who's just starting out the gym has no business doing that. You're much better off seeing your natural potential, letting that run through, and then, you know, potentially adding in something after that.
So when you hear us say that, we're not coming from a place of like we're threatened and we want you to just slow down. We're genuinely coming from a place of please, like do not make the same mistakes we made.
What a great point that is. I'm so glad you said that. That's a really good point. I need my clients to know that if I put you on less steroids, it's not because I'm trying to get you slow results so you sign up for longer. That's not it. I think sometimes people think that. I'm trying to look out for your longevity.
Well, you were competing and you did. Well, I'm here. Well, surely if I do that, I'm going to get there faster.
Yeah,
and it's like you don't understand. It just does not work like that.
No.
Like that is going to take you straight into a car crash.
100%. Things need to be tapered up gradually, and even then, it's still not safe. You know, you need to understand the risks of what you're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, putting you on less steroids as a client, it's not because I'm trying to have you have slow results. Do you know what? There is nothing better as a coach to have fast results with someone. You want that slam dunk transformation. You want that. So it's not that you're trying to slow them down. You're actually looking out for the longevity and you're trying to think of the big picture.
How many of your clients where you've slam dunked them have stayed with you long term? Not many.
No. To be honest with you, though, mate, I never, I'm sure you don't either. I never push anything large like that. If they're doing a large amount, I very often will pull them back anyway. So
correct.
But
the ones that stay with you longer,
sustained results.
They are sustained results, and they understand the value, and the value is constantly coming. And it's like it's people want all the secrets now, but you have to walk through the process to feel the problems.
Your stripes.
Yeah,
your time will come. But anyway, let's move on to the next subject. Yeah. Okay, so the next subject that I want to discuss with you as well, mate, and I think we can both really relate on this. When I began coaching, it almost was a bit of a joke to people around me.
Oh my God.
Now, like my mum, my dad, they just didn't understand it. My dad said, "You realise that this is real life. You know, you're going to quit your job and start doing this." May 2016.
A real job.
When are you going to get a real job?
When are you going to get a real job?
My dad couldn't understand. Mum and dad, my friends, everyone was like, it's a bit of a painful one to try and, are we going to tell him? Should we tell him? I knew that it had legs. I knew. And back when I started coaching, barely anyone was coaching. The market was huge. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
But if I had listened to my friends and family, which, do you know what? You should, in most instances in life, you should be listening to those who love you most.
Correct.
Mum, dad, brother, sister, friends, girlfriend. So by all respects, I should have listened to them. But I didn't, because I knew there was a different path for me. I knew there was. And I think something really important to say as well, if you're starting out doing whatever your venture is, it's not even coaching, like whatever your venture is or you're thinking of doing, it's not going to be an easy ride. The first, I would say, 2016, 17 and 18 was rocky. There was plenty of moments where I thought I need to stop doing this and sort myself out. I had good and bad, and good and bad, and I kept, not sure if this has got legs, but with perseverance, I got past those moments. But do you know what? Even 10 years in, I still have moments of like, you know, it could fall apart. That's one of the things with
all the time. But the threat of failure never goes away.
But it's almost a good thing, right?
But you
turn it into a superpower.
That is exactly right, and this is the point I was saying at the start.
Yeah.
I operate best when my back is against the wall, and it's as soon as I figured that out, I had to put myself into positions where my back is against the wall, enough so that I can recharge, so I don't burn out, but enough so that I'm never ever comfortable. As soon as you're comfortable, you're done. That's true.
That's true. One of the problems with coaching, and you know, if you're watching this and you've got a different venture, maybe not coaching, but let's say it's you know, making sweet treats, making like clothing. If it's a non-essential item, what we're providing is non-essential. I mean, you could argue that it is, you know, health and whatnot, but we are the first thing to be dropped. When someone's got an MOT, when someone's got a holiday coming up, we are dropped.
We are dropped, even though people will message you and say, mate, you've changed my life.
What a crazy position that is.
But a month later, if someone's having a little bit of a bad month, you are the first thing that will
That
go.
is crazy to me.
And you can spend months and months and years building a relationship with someone, and they will drop you within a few weeks.
In the blink of an eye.
If something in their life changes.
Hey, can I, sorry to cut in. What about when they just ignore you? Can we talk about this, please? You get a guy who will be your best friend, and when they need something from you, they're all over you, and then they just ignore you. And this is one of the problems, and you'll find that if you've got a non-essential business. So it's never not a struggle, but that's when the mentality has to kick in, right?
You have to coach yourself to manage that feeling and understand that that happens, and that takes time. And even now, every single time I lose someone, and not lose someone, but someone stops coaching with me, I will go away, whether they realize it or not, and I will actually like screen my entire mind and go, could I have done anything differently to save that?
But that's part of the reason why you are successful, right? That right there, because you actually care. You give a shit.
And it's because we're emotionally invested in what we do, and ultimately the reason why we do this, it's not just the money. If I wanted just the money, I would go and work in sales, and I would batter sales but I do this because I genuinely feel the dopamine I get from helping. When someone texts you and said, mate, I texted you last week, or you get someone text you and say, or message you, or even ring you and say, honestly, thank you so much.
Unbelievable.
Like my relationship with my kids is better. I'm working better. I'm better at work. I'm more effective as a father. For the first time in my life, I went on holiday and I felt confident. These are conversations that person will probably never have with another peer, another colleague, sometimes even their own spouse, but they'll have that conversation with you. And honestly, I will do this job until I'm done, until I am finished, if I'm getting feedback like that. Because
I agree.
I know in my heart when I go to bed at night, that is my calling, that is what I have to do.
Some things money can't buy. Some things money can't buy. You know, you could be, there are coaches out there who are just money, 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 and they give out generic plans to everyone and whatever, but
you get found out.
That feeling there.
And your clients know that. They know that. They know that you are in it because you genuinely want to see them succeed. They know that. They have a bullshit radar and they know.
Yeah, I think so too. I think
they know.
Getting those types of messages it's hard to People often associate getting in shape with like the physicality and almost vanity.
A big bench press, low body fat, and getting on stage.
But they think, having a better physique, they think of it as vanity. But I'm gonna argue to my deathbed that it translates into so many more things.
It transcends you into a better person. Makes you more disciplined.
So as long as you're not a complete vain arsehole with it, but it makes you more alert, it makes you fitter, it makes you more self-confident, it makes you happier with the way that you are, because how many people don't like themselves, right? And also the discipline of following something and getting a result at the end of it teaches you and transcends into other parts of your life.
Absolutely.
So providing you're not a complete insufferable wanker with your physique, do you know what I mean? And maybe people who follow me, they might think that I take my top off all the time, and you're probably right within you're within your rights to say that. But as long as you're not insufferable, you still have humility.
Yeah,
there are so many benefits that come from getting in shape. You know?
I just think to myself every day, I'm like, right, have you doing what you do? Like, my mission here is literally, I want to lead, I want to inspire, and I want to improve people's lives. And if at the end of the day today, I've inspired someone, I've led someone, or like I've improved someone's life, then my job is literally done.
Yeah.
That is it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to do this to be the fucking big man. I'm not trying to do this to be better than anyone else. I literally just want to provide value. And like, this is why we've talked about it at the beginning. This is why we're talking about where we've come from, and like the reason why we got into coaching in the first place is because I've been in that place, and you've been in that place where you are totally lost, and people tell you like, "Oh, are you sure you want to get into coaching? When are you going to get a real job?" and all the rest of it. But most people dream of being in a position where they love what they do.
100%.
Yeah.
That kind of takes us on to the next point. That takes us on to the next point, and how we're going to finish this podcast as well. You and me have both reached some lows, self-inflicted for the most part, right? Self-inflicted. I think life was almost on easy mode for me when I was younger. I was going out, I had my parents supporting me. Don't get me wrong, I don't come from a rich background, but I always knew I was living at home, so I was rent-free. You know, they weren't charging me. I had like my food paid for me and things like that. Things were easy for me.
There's no consequence.
There was no consequence.
There's no consequence.
And and my lifestyle reflected that. Now I've turned it into this positive, and like you just said, to mirror what you just said, I'm now in a position where I've experienced the lows, self-inflicted, and now I'm out the other side, 10 years deep into coaching and still changing people's lives. And that feels absolutely amazing. And it's, as I say, money aside, that there, to actually give myself a purpose that I didn't have before, because I certainly didn't have one when I was younger. I thought I was the fucking king shit, but I absolutely wasn't. You know, I was living a lie. Anyone who knows me back then, it was all a fucking lie. Like, it was a front. But now I have purpose and I'm good at something, and that feels fucking amazing. So to be able to try and share that with people watching is just...
100%. I think as well, a large part of this is, and this is coming on to where we want to go next in the future episodes, is that what I find highly motivating and what gets me going is seeing underdogs or people who have had horrendous things happen to them in their lives succeed.
Do you know what? Not everyone loves an underdog story. Everyone loves an underdog story.
Like I love, and I don't care who you are, I want to know that this has happened to you and now you're here. And I want to know what was going on in your mind when you were here, because I can use that as a weapon. I can use that as a tool. I can use that as a shield, and everyone else can too. Mm-hmm. So the people that we're going to try and get on this podcast are people who've been in that position you can relate to and started here and are now here. Definitely.
If you are someone watching this who can relate to what we've already said, you failed and you failed and you failed, there is a way out. That doesn't define you for the rest of your life. There is light at the end of the tunnel, but it starts with you. And I think sometimes those big failures that you make and you feel like shit, like it might feel like this is the end of the world, but you'll get over it. But it has to come from within.
Massively.
So, to conclude, my friend, right, we will be looking to get people on the podcast for other episodes, but for today, we're going to call it time. So I appreciate that, mate. Okay, until next time, guys. Thank you very much.